What's up, guys? Welcome to the first official Let's Talk Weeb podcast slash anime discussion. I am one of your hosts, the man with the plan, Quick Grits, also known as Grits, and I'm here with my partners in crime, Zach Reen, also known as Zach. Tell everybody what's up.
Howdy, partner.
And my boy Yoru, also known as Sean.
What's up?
Your... Today we got a bunch of good stuff to talk about. We got a lot of different topics. I'm gonna preface this video with a little spoiler warning for any and all series that we talk about. If you're not caught up on anything that we discuss, just skip ahead a little bit in the video and we should be done talking about it. Alright guys, so today we have a couple of things. Let's just get right into it. So harems. Large amounts of girls and or guys. How do y'all feel about harems?
So there's two things in harems. There's plot and there's plot.
Oh yeah, and everybody watches for that plot.
That
Valid
plot.
point.
Okay, so let's just start off. Zach, what's your favorite harem in anime?
Well, there's a lot of good ones out there, but I think my favorite overall, it's legendary. It's talked among many people. It is known only as Kiss X Sis.
Kiss X Sis?
No, I'm joking.
Ooh.
I've never watched it. It just sounds like
I've never watched Kiss X Sis. Yeah, I was about to be real confused right there.
I have.
honestly don't know. Personally, I haven't watched too many harem anime.
How is Kiss X Sis, Sean?
Borderline, straight borderline. Nothing but the second kind of plot, and not the first kind. Apart from the guy
Just
trying to get
basically
into high
borderline
school.
hentai?
The whole premise is, I fucking hate my sisters, or my sisters want to have sex with me all the time. I don't want to go to the
No.
same school as them. Oh wait, yeah, I do.
It's one of
But, you know,
those.
So he's a tsundere.
It's like, oh wait. He's like,
I
oh
don't
wait,
like my
yeah, I do.
sisters, but yes, I do.
He's like, oh wait, yeah, I do. He's like, I gotta pass this test, but I'm not smart enough. And they're all like, you can do it, and every little step of the way is any kind of sexual scene they can throw in there.
Oh, of course. All right, but yeah, continue, Zach. Go ahead with your favorite harem.
I don't really have a favorite because I haven't watched too many.
Mhm.
I guess Clannad has that little mini harem in it.
Oh yeah, Clannad has a
One of my
definite harem.
favorite series.
Enough to have a visual novel.
But if there's different paths you can take, I count that as a harem in my heart.
No, yeah, any harem basically is the run-of-the-mill protagonist surrounded with a bunch of girls that are in love with him or trying to have sex with him, whatever. But it doesn't have to be necessarily, the harem doesn't have to be the focus of the plot.
Yeah.
It could be anything. It could be for example, one of my favorite is Chivalry of a Failed Knight's harem, and I think in the first 4 episodes, I think he gets with his main girl.
Oh yeah.
So with Stella, really the harem is kind of secondary to everything else, but it's still one of my favorites just because I love the character so much.
They get big bonus points from me for actually having the MC end up with a girl.
Yeah, that's actually what I got into Chivalry. What made me like it so much was the Iki, the main character. He ends up deciding on a chick very soon, and then you don't see it's not. How a lot of, especially romance and when harem is the main focal point of an anime or a series, it's more the character coming to a decision at the end of the series, and that's really the main plot is him figuring out, oh, do I like this girl or this girl? But with that anime, it was more you saw him and Stella's relationship develop over the course of the anime, and that's what really got me into it at first.
So basically, the main part of most harems is the indecisiveness of it, which is kind of like
Mhm.
you have this girlfriend. and you're like, hey, where do you want to eat? And them deciding where to eat is episodes 1 through 10 in like a 13 episode series.
Yeah, and then they'd be deciding where they want to eat episode 13. The
Exactly.
last 2 minutes of episode 13.
Kiss scene and conclude.
Yeah, that's my big problem with a lot of like not even just harem, it's just romance anime in general. It's like, the will they won't they type thing has been, or like who will the MC pick, has been such a like played out trope that it just kind of gets on my nerves at this point. But like, there's still good anime that do it. Toradora was, you know,
Oh,
one of the
oof,
Oh
best.
my
I
god.
love it. The
Ooh.
ending, oof,
Mhm.
Yeah,
heartwarming.
but
Mhm.
um, yeah, definitely. Like, there's some anime that do it, but it gets a little played out for me.
Well,
There
that's a
was.
lot of the. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, okay. There was one that came out like a few seasons ago that played out exactly like you were just talking about. Like, who the whole premise was like, who am I gonna like? It was the male MC. Like, he's like, who am I gonna end up with, right? So this one actually managed to step out a little bit for me, and I kind of wanted to point that out, but uh, primarily just due to the fact that the premise for it was the whole world like forcefully like it has this government system that like matches you up with a partner forcefully. Like you just get a text message one day when you're of age, and it's like, oh, you're gonna be with this person for your life. But the guy fell in love with another girl, and like the whole series was him deciding whether or not he was gonna break the law and like resist the government to
Oh,
end up with this girl, or just take the easy road and end up with the other one. Because the one he was supposed to end up with ended up becoming a really cool chick when he got to know her, despite how much he didn't try to in the beginning. Like
yeah,
it's really good, so much so that I want to go read the manga for it, and I was just reminded to.
that's really good. Like, that's a really
What,
good premise. I
what was
like
the
that.
name of it, by the way? Do you remember?
Yeah,
Love and Lies, Koito Uso.
I've
I don't think
honestly
I've heard
never heard of that.
Yeah, it had like the best ending, the outro ever, by the way. Like, whew, I felt my
Speaking of
phone.
good harems, another harem that I've heard of, that I personally never watched, is Nisekoi. I've heard that
Ah,
that's like a really good harem anime.
Look, I have kind of like a love-hate relationship with that series, and it goes
Really?
yep.
back to that indecisiveness of the main character,
Oh,
because that's what it is. I mean, the characters, all both. Well, no, I'm not gonna say both. Every female character in that series is likable and enjoyable, and of course, you have your favorite, but
mm,
Hmm.
it kind of like pulls away from that immersion of you picking your favorite when the main character doesn't even know what he wants. He has no
yeah.
idea what
Hmm.
he wants. He says he knows what he wants. From the get go, he's like, I want this girl. Then he's like, no, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do.
So he's just like
Well,
flip flopping the whole series.
mm,
It's not even
uh,
flip flopping. Let's say you had a die, like a single die, and you
Mm.
rolled it. Like you wake up every morning and just roll. Okay, it's a 3. Wake up the next morning. Okay, it's a 2.
Which thotty will I roll today?
Exactly. With that being said, despite all the shit talking I just did on this series, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I've
mhm.
heard a lot of good things about it. I honestly like, like you, I'm not super. I don't automatically see a series that has harem and being like I think to myself, oh, I want to watch that because harem don't really appeal to me like a lot, but there are good ones. Definitely, probably my favorite would be, and I know Sean could probably agree with me on this one, but High School DxD,
Oh yeah.
because DxD combines ecchi and harem perfectly, and the like really the characters are what for any good anime, like you gotta have likable characters and good like developed characters, but those characters are done so well that you have your favorites, but like you honestly don't care if Issei. He obviously he's not gonna just pick one because he wants to be the harem king, but
And that's
you
his whole
wouldn't
thing,
mind.
isn't it? That he
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
wants to be the harem. He wants to have the biggest harem in the world.
yeah. From the first episode, he's like, "Hey, I want to have all the girls." He's like, "I want all the
Hmm.
bitches, 100,000 bitches. Give them all to me." And he's like, "I want to have the biggest harem ever." And that's. Then everything's kind of like secondary to that.
That and his breast fetish, but
Yeah.
And I
that man
think
has like
one of the
20
reason
different ways.
I think one of the reasons you guys enjoy it is, I mean, he obviously has a goal from the like he wants this harem. It's not like he's indecisive. He wants everybody, and that kind of
Yeah,
sets
and
it
Hmm.
apart from everything else.
yeah,
He
and
fights
and
for it too.
the best thing about him, wanting to be the harem king and everything is it really lends itself to like all the comedic moments in the show because most of the comedy is set up on like kind of like gags where it's like, oh, you know um girl A walks in on Issei, and then they end up like almost accidentally having sex, or one like catches him in the bathroom while he's showering or whatever and trying to have sex. There's this one character, Zenobia, and
Oh my god.
she's kind of the like I don't even know how to describe her.
She's
She's
the
like the really
stupid
blunt
one.
character. Yeah, she's the really blunt character who her like whole thing after she joins Issei's harem is she's like, I want to have a baby so I can create the best warrior. She's like, we're gonna have this baby. I want to make the best warrior ever, the best demon ever. And so she basically tries to like fucking rape Issei on multiple occasions, and it really like, and they always end up getting caught. She never does it, but they always end up getting caught, and it lends itself to a lot of comedic moments in the show.
If it's not that, then she's the one walking in on him and interrupting it. Like she'll walk into
Yeah,
the room at one of like the worst possible moments and be like, "Hey, that DNA is mine," and it's fucking.
yeah, that
Oh,
DNA.
so she wants everything about him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like all the girls are like in love with Issa, but
Hmm.
Zenobia's is probably, especially starting out, it's more just like more of a like
I want.
Darwinism
Yeah, I want a
mentality.
strong kid.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, I got to do this so I make the strongest kid ever.
Hmm.
But they all end up through one way or another end up falling in love with him in some way. So,
Hmm.
um, what are some other good harems that y'all can think of?
Well, you mentioned Nisekoi, which I was gonna mention earlier. Um,
Mm.
let me think. Sean, I know you got a couple up your sleeve.
See, there's one that I do want to bring up, but I remember us talking about at another point in time, and I'm gonna go ahead and talk about this now. Heaven's Lost Property.
Okay.
Now, as far as harems with plot, and I mean, the kind of plot that we watch a show for, well, even though we watch them for both,
Yeah.
the kind of plot that, okay, the story, okay.
Mm.
Well, as far as harems go that have actual stories mixed in with like a insane amount of comedy, like I want to say the comedy in I put the comedy in Heaven's Lost Property on par with Gintama, but
Really?
it's not more of like all around. It's like all perverted kind of like it's like all perverted kind of comedy.
Yeah.
The main character, I put the main character in terms of exoticness up there with Issei, but his thing is that he just loves the female body in a whole, and he's willing to get it any way he can take it. So much so that
Oh my
he'd be willing to turn himself, and he did, into the water in the school pool.
So he can embrace it all.
That's
Yeah,
fucking
he
crazy.
started groping every girl that jumped into the pool, and the girl's like, "What's that?" She's like, "Something just grabbed me in the water," and then they weren't realizing it was the water until someone realized what he did, and they literally just drained him out into the ocean.
Oh my gosh.
So he's the actual like he was the actual like water
He was
in the
the
pool.
water. He was the water.
So my
That's
question is,
crazy.
what does that feel like? Because if it just wouldn't it just feel like a wave?
See
Is it just like a
see
giant
that
water
was the
hand?
thing. But then when you see like the top of it, there were like this is what tipped it off was there was multiple shapes of hands like kind of sticking out of the top of the water, like edging around the water when he would grab someone. It was hand shaped.
Oh my gosh.
So then there's like another scene that also had something to do with a pool, and he let me tell you, the pool ones are always the worst. He turned on, so those like little like circular like flowing currents where you can just like
Uh-huh.
swim in and just kind of float around. Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
whirlpools.
yeah, he turned one of those all the way up to blow off a bunch of bikinis,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
And see, because of his last shenanigan with the pool, they had already shut him down. They have this girl in there because this has a bit of supernatural element. Like a lot of the main heroines are these like beings known as angel lords, and so as to not give you no reason to watch the show, I'm not going to entirely go into that. But one of the girls locked away his memories of swimming, so he was literally unable to swim. So literally, like he turns up the whirlpool all the way and then realizes he can't see any of the swimsuits getting blown off. So he jumps into the water anyways, and he's like, I don't have to swim. He's like, I just have to mimic what everybody else is doing. And he's like, it's working. And he's like, no, it's not. So he's like floating around at the bottom, and every time he circles around, they're all holding onto this rope that somebody threw across with no bathing suits. And he's like, I'm gonna drown if I stay here. He's like, but just one more lap. And he like goes around, and he's like, that's good. And he's like, I'm gonna die. And he just keeps circling around just for that one fleeting glimpse of them holding on to the rope.
That's hilarious.
This is
Okay,
just like,
I'm gonna have to watch
this is
that now.
scratching
That's
the
definitely
surface.
gonna be on my list
Hmm.
because I didn't know that Heaven's Lost Property had scenes like that. It's hilarious.
And I
Oh
think
yeah.
my favorite thing about harems isn't the harem itself. It's 100% the comedy that comes with it.
Oh yeah.
Definitely, and we'll
Like,
definitely get into that here in a second too. But what's what's y'all's most hated or least favorite harem in anime or any kind of series?
Okay. Can I go first?
Yeah, go
go
ahead.
for it.
So there was this anime that came out last year, and
Oh,
for some reason I decided to watch all of it because I thought it would
Okay.
get good. It never got good, and I hate it for that because I was just anticipating it being good, but
Mm.
it never met my expectations. I didn't read anything, I didn't look anything into it. I just thought, hey, this has a cool name. It might be good. And it didn't get good. It's called The Master of Ragnarok and the Blaster of Einhar.
I like to call that Ragnarok Bottom, but we'll talk about that. Why I gave it that name later.
It's if you guys don't know, it's basically this it's basically the isekai, It's, I got summoned to another dimension with my smartphone part 2.
Okay.
And it's like this prehistoric civilization, not like caveman era, but like Babylonian Empire, Roman Empire type thing.
Yeah.
And there's all these female characters. One's a blacksmith, one's his like secretary. There's these two characters. There's these little girls the lowlies who come from another country to join his country.
Mhm.
And and then there's this one character who's back home who's always calling him.
She was the
And
worst.
look, she's 100% the worst because his battery from the get-go was at like 33% the whole time. And it's crazy because he had to use his phone to look up battle strategies from like ancient
Mhm.
civilizations in order to gain the advantage in his fights, because it was kind of like a war series in a sense, not
Hmm.
like a war,
Okay.
like a real war series, but like
Kind of
it was
like
clans fighting against each other.
Oh, okay.
And that's where the smartphone
Yeah.
gave him his edge. But this girl from his old world would always be like, "Hey, I miss you. Stay safe. Let me talk to you longer. Your battery's gonna die. I don't care. Let me talk to you longer. I miss you."
So he's talking to her from. Oh, I know what you're talking about. He's talking to her in the other like
Hmm.
world that he came
Hmm.
from, right? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I
So
know
so
exactly what series you're talking about.
the worst part about that was that he'd already designated her as the one. Like he was gonna ignore the advances of all the rest of them because that was the one he was gonna pick. And despite him admitting to her that he had to fight multiple dangerous battles to get home, and regardless of how long he took or anything, every time he'd come back, she would bitch at him about how long he took and how worried she was. Like even though it was something he
Uh,
absolutely had to do.
yeah.
Like, uh, it it rubbed me the wrong way so badly.
Oh, it just ooh, they all had something about them that, well, maybe not all of them.
The
There was
secretary was
one,
all right.
yeah, and then that there was that other warrior chick in his original
Yeah,
plan.
the doggy one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
I don't
her.
look. I don't remember any of their names because it. I didn't bother to remember them. I kind of erased their names because it disappointed me so much.
Oh, it's fine. I don't remember the names either, Zach. They're forgettable. But
No, they
they're-
definitely are. The
I remember
climax
the
of that
appearance.
scene, like the best, not scene, that series, the best part was wasn't even the harem. Like I had lost interest in the harem because it was so boring that it was basically he had to fight somebody who was so powerful he couldn't fight him one on one. So he built a dam and he brought this
Oh,
guy
that
into
was
the
a
middle of
good.
where this river was supposed to be, and he just opened the dam up and he just got washed away.
That was
Wait, he
that
used
scene
the.
was very powerful.
He used the river to wipe out this guy's troops, and
Yeah,
he
he dammed up the
Oh,
river to block all the water, and then they ran across like this shallow water, and they're like, "Run from the enemy army!" So the guy's army is chasing them, and they're so far ahead that they're all out of the water when he's like right in the middle, and he's like, "Now!" And they blow the dam, and the whole river washes over the guy's army. Like
damn.
the guy literally just stands there and just looks at the water as it's rushing him, and he's like, he's already been labeled as like the most powerful guy in the world, and he's just like, what the hell? Like, it's like this pause as the water's thrown at him, just thrown at him. And I remember that scene actually impressed me. That was when I
yeah.
actually started to have better expectations. I was like, that was
See,
really good. Like,
that's where I was like, okay, it's getting better, it's getting better, and then it got
it never
worse.
got better. Yeah.
Okay, Shot,
um.
what's your
Yeah,
least
Sean.
favorite?
Ooh, I gotta go. Okay, and this applies to the anime only. Okay, I gotta go with Rosario Vampire,
Okay,
and
Rosario.
that's
That's a solid choice.
That's one of the bigger
that's
ones, isn't it?
primarily. Oh yeah, people love it, but it's when you're first starting out, and you just like to see, like you just want to see the action, the other action, which is honestly the only reason I'd honestly say I'd go back and watch that again. Um, it's like, it's like I'm feeling like I want to see, something easy on the eyes, but I also don't want an actual story with it. I want it to be kind of shit. So
Titties.
it's like, but see, that's the sad thing, though. It's not titties. It's all panty shots and bra shots because it's dated as shit. And God forbid we ever show any actual anything back then. Um.
Yeah, it is a little older.
Hmm. Um. Now it whole story is pretty linear. MC ends up signing up for a school for monsters, and due to these obvious reasons and the fact that humans aren't supposed to know about their school, he finds out that if humans are revealed to be at their school, they'll be found and killed like a witch hunt. Or even worse, there's some monsters that eat human beings. So he hides this fact and, decides he's going to return home until, best girl slash first girl he ever met, which was kind of linear and obvious, decides she gets really attached to him, basically. She's been lonely all her life and hasn't had anybody. And then, he ends up being like her first friend. So she's really doesn't want him to go back. It's understandable from her perspective. Sheltered girl, makes friends, and is really childish about letting him leave. But so then that it starts off strong on that note until every episode ends up as like Team Rocket's nefarious plot of the week because every single episode is like has its own individual villain that in some way, shape, or form takes a crack at attacking him or one of the other main characters, only
So,
for supposed best girl / first girl to swoop in and knock him out in one kick
so like a monster
as
of the
the
week
episode
type
ends.
deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And it even like goes so far as to like slow down and give you like a dictionary summary of what kind of monster this is and what they're known for. It'll be like, oh, by the way, this is a werewolf, and in this world, werewolves are really, really fast, and they get stronger at night. By the way, it's a full moon tonight. You know, like
It's just coincidences, is what you're saying.
yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the werewolf ended up being like one of my favorite fucking characters. There's like this whole like arc centered around him where he got the MC framed for fucking taking perverted shots of women when he was the one doing it because he's crazy fucking fast. And there's like a lot of full moons out recently. But even after the fact, he ended up hanging around and he ended up becoming like the president of the little newspaper club that they're in. So, there's like that occasional moment where he's like, hey, and holds his hand up to wave at someone and some really fucking, erotic picture of the person he's saying hi to falls out of his pocket and ends with him getting his ass kicked. But, you know, I'll just go ahead and say this. Compared to the anime, the manga is so much better. Like,
That's what I've
I'm gonna go
heard.
ahead and introduce like this little side plot and the reason why it pissed me off so much. The main character, due to various reasons, ends up being revealed. It's revealed that he's a human being, and the student council president, who is revealed to now be the most badass thing on campus. I don't even remember what kind of monster he was, but he was like a humanoid fox. He had arms and legs, but his whole body, like he's like a beast man that had power over fire. I'd argue it's nine-tailed fox or something, but it's not. He doesn't. He's just a humanoid fox with
Oh, so
a bit
like
of power
a
over fire.
kitsune. Is that?
Yeah,
Yeah, kitsune.
yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
that. So he literally has this moment where there's this whole scene where every individual character is like pairing up to fight members of the student council. It's like this whole him running away, someone swoops in to save him, and him running away again, apologizing while they're like, I got this. He finally gets to the roof and it's just him and Beth Girl left, and as he's standing there talking to her, the fucking student council president just swoops in and takes this big ass spear of fire before anyone realizes what's happening and throws it straight through his chest.
Okay.
And he just falls over, like his whole body gets burnt up, and he falls over on the ground, and he looks to be dead. So, in order to save him, the other people start showing up at this point, and realizing he's down, and lots of people you're starting to see new sides of a lot of people as they're realizing and dawning on them, and anger is a very powerful force in a lot of shows. So, they're fighting this guy, and she's like, "I'm gonna save him." Best girl is like, "I'm gonna save him." So she injects her blood into him, and this is what I'm getting into. Like it has an adverse effect on him later. Human beings aren't supposed to have monsters, specifically vampires' bloods in their body. This apparently turns him into like a half human, half monster. He becomes a being that has access, or is basically similarly contracted to a vampire, but is constantly at risk of losing his mental state because human beings aren't supposed to be able to grasp such a thing. But it actually develops him a lot later to the point that he's no longer the guy who stands back every time he gets attacked and watches other people. He's fighting alongside them and eventually is becoming stronger than a lot of them. Like he develops.
Yeah.
And it takes the whole series in a new direction. Now, in the anime, this was never touched upon. The whole second season, where he was supposed to have awakened and whatnot, never happened. It was still insert random monster of the week that wasn't even in the manga, and then finally, let's have his awakening be revealed by him just suddenly magically getting a type of red aura and his shirt ripping off with no explanation and having a Dragon Ball Z style clash with her father. And I mean it. There was no actual punching or kicking or any kind of fighting. They just jumped at each other, and there was just auras wrapped around them. And the auras pressed against each other. Their father falls down, and he's like, "Gah!" And he's like, "You win." And the series ends there. Like, there's no explanation for it, nor was there any indication, or there's nothing.
So it basically pulls a what's that? There's a certain series that has like an ass pull where the guy gets powers at the very end for no reason, and it's kind of I can't think of it. It's really gonna get on my nerves. But there's a series that I'm thinking of.
It's like a shonen or what genre? Do you know?
That goes almost exactly like that, and the dude gets
I
ends up getting
think
some
of
powers out
countless
of
ones,
nowhere,
but
and
that's-
it's a harem too. I just can't think of it.
um,
Oh well. Okay. So we've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but so out of all the harems, good and bad, the ones that we like and the ones that we don't, what, in your opinion, in y'all's opinion, makes a harem good? So just the harem, not the anime specifically, but the girls and the MC and just the group of characters in general.
um, I think one, the character should know what he wants.
Okay,
It
definitely.
it kind of just rubs me the wrong way when characters are indecisive because, well, I don't even know why. It's just
I mean,
when you're
I
next to
have the
somebody
same
who's
thing.
indecisive, you get pissed off because they can't make a decision, and that's
Yeah,
just how it is
definitely.
naturally, even IRL. And
Yeah,
I think that's a key feature and something that's big.
yeah, definitely.
Like this is a ham that I completely forgot about. It just crossed my mind just now. Oh gosh, what's its name? I'm gonna hate myself for this now. It aired last season, fall
Last
2018.
season.
Give me
Rascal
premise.
Cannot Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai,
Ooh,
Oh, Bunny Girl.
which was great, by the way. Um,
absolutely.
the main character literally first episode, he's like, "Man, I love this girl. I'm gonna marry her. Maybe not marry her. He doesn't say that
I
exclusive.
love you, bitch. I'm
I
never
never
gonna
gonna
stop
stop
loving you,
loving
bitch.
you." And that's a series that does almost everything right because even if the main character didn't say, "I'm gonna pick this girl first," all the other all the supporting characters need to be likable.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
you can still make a harem good, even with having like we were talking about earlier with chivalry. You can make a harem good, even if the MC has already chosen, his best girl, whatever. You can still make that harem good just by having likable characters and having a great chemistry between those characters. Because, um, in Chivalry, there's Stella, the main girl who Iki ends up with, around episode 4 or whatever. And then I think a couple of episodes after that, probably halfway through the series, um, his sister,
Oh my god, I
uh,
remember
comes
her.
in. Yeah, his sister,
I
the
love
Lolly,
her. She was hilarious.
um, starts with an S something, but I forgot her name. But
Uh,
they have
mm,
that running gag between each other where she's like, at first she has that, she has a brother complex and everything, and she's trying to get her brother to love her, and then she's like, that she goes through a whole arc where she's like, okay, well, obviously, Iki loves Stella and he wants to be with her. I'm gonna support them, but she's still having that running gag the whole show where she's like, "You're not good enough for Iki," and like, Iki doesn't like his eggs made this way, or some shit like that. And
mhm.
it's a really good like chemistry between the two because it's always a funny moment between them.
Yeah, they're always
And
trying to one up each other.
yeah,
Mhm.
always,
In
and that's
any
what.
way.
But that makes I feel like having a good chemistry between the characters and a likable cast. You can. That's what really makes the harem good or not.
And obviously, there's minor details that differ from anime to anime, but
Yeah,
those are the basics. And if you mess up even the slightest, it'll just do a complete 180 and turn to a downward spiral of why am I watching this?
yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Harems are actually surprisingly hard to get right. Because there's harem animes or just shows in general or series in general with a large group of girls or guys, reverse harem or whatever. They're a dime a dozen, but there's only I forgot my train of thought. Well, fuck,
Congratulations. I had no idea where you were going with that, man.
I had no idea where I was going with it. Actually, I kind of just blanked out right there.
Well,
Um,
I got a point I can make.
okay, go ahead.
Um, well, this kind of feeds into the whole like what makes it good before, but I feel like and this kind of like feeds a little bit into what you were saying earlier, Grits. I think a good portion of what makes a lot of harems or a big atmosphere of them is the comedy.
Oh
Hmm.
yes.
Yeah,
I feel like if I ever saw a harem tag and didn't have comedy on it, I don't think I'd really be able like when you see harem and comedy put together, you get this feeling that it's going to be entertaining in some kind of way, regardless of whether it's that same long running gag, like you'd have like your stereotypical, like, oh, this is that girl, this is that girl, this is that girl that's going to do this,
hmm,
because it's been done for like a lot of people have been done over and over so many times. Like just the stereotypes, like you got the one tsundere that's usually blonde, the rich girl, and you got the really small, upbeat, cheerful one, or the airheaded big boobs, like
yeah.
Oh, well,
I'm pretty
I hate that's my least favorite one, by the
sure
way. The airheaded
Or
big
as I like to
boobs.
I
call her.
I know I brought it up. Yeah, then you have
um,
more. Mhm.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead. My fault.
I was gonna say, then you have more of Grits' strike zone that may or may not get him arrested. Um,
Lollies.
mm. Well, let me just go ahead and since I'm gonna put him on blast and say I'm a man of many flavors, but it's just like the comedy, like, and this centers around like having good characters but all in all, what makes a good story is having a lot of all these things mixed in with each other. But I feel like that's a really big part of like what draws me in and makes me find them enjoyable. Is those moments, the kind of stuff that people hate. Like the MC can like what he wants, but we still have those scenes. He can have what he wants or know what he wants, or we should still have those scenes. Like those things that make harems, like the misunderstandings, for example, like the
Yeah,
walking in at the wrong time, the throw in the wash bucket, because I know you guys love that. Like I
yeah.
love that.
You gotta have the obligatory like beach episode, the
Oh
shower
yeah.
scene.
Every harem has a beach episode.
Yeah,
Even everything has a beach episode. Let's be honest.
Right.
But
yeah.
with like, oh,
Even
here's the
Darling
beach
and the Franks
episode,
had a beach episode.
and it's like beach episodes are so stereotypically thrown up there. They're like right alongside the shonens. Is that a motherfucking tournament arc? Like.
Tournament talk. All right. So moving on just a little bit. Onto our next topic. So in a little bit of news, I know this is a big one for Sean because it is one of your favorite series. ReZero announces the uh, the anime returns with a new OVA, Frozen Bond, or yeah, Frozen Bonds, which is basically animating the first encounter between Amelia and Puck. I'll go ahead and read it off of this article I have off of Crunchyroll. Um, so, second OVA project animates the next encounter, or the first encounter between Amelia and Puck. Originally announced back in December, the second ReZero OVA episode now has a theater release time. ReZero Starting Life in Another World is set to screen in Japan this fall, and advance tickets and goods will be sold at Kadokawa's Anime Japan booth at Tokyo Big Sight this weekend. So we're
Woohoo.
gonna have a release sometime, at least in Japan. It'll be screened in the fall of Frozen Bonds, and I know you have kept up with the manga and the is it a light novel shop for
Oh
ReZero?
yeah. Um,
I'm a
Wait,
little
let
is
bit
me do
behind,
take a
but
note here. Uh,
huh,
mm, Let me do take one moment here to say, um, for even for people that have watched the anime, there's still a kind of a, and if this makes a difference to some people, difference between the anime and the manga, and I don't mean slight deviations. Um, the manga itself isn't based off of the anime. The designs of the characters are. However, the manga itself is based off of the light novel. All the small little details are like things that make ends meet, and kind of a lot of the other like scenes that weren't in the anime because they just didn't make the cut. Screening time. You can't expect to put a whole book into a manga, but or an anime. Um, they all meet. They all find their way there. Like small details. Like I'm sure you guys all remember the Loot House arc, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where what's her name? The
No.
the female character that comes in and kills everybody 7 times in a row.
Elsa.
That's it.
Yeah, her name's Elsa. Ironically enough, she walks out of there with one of her shoes. It was a piece of ice, so you can make the Frozen references if you want to. I know some people want to.
Do you wanna kill some people?
Murder
Oh my
20
God,
dozen men.
I'm never gonna unsee that because the one who sang the song was like the most childlike character. I could totally see her singing that and just not knowing what the hell it meant. But you know, so for example, there's like this scene where you remember the scene where Subaru's trying to talk to like some of the peasant like people around there, like the really run down, like
Yeah.
people living in the slums, and they won't tell him anything, right? Because
Yeah.
and it's like revealed later that they don't like talking to people who look clean or well done because they feel like those people have it in it for them because they're basically discriminated upon.
Okay.
So after his first death, and after this is touched upon by him and Amelia, someone who tells him it, whose name he doesn't know at the time. There's that time where he runs there ahead of her, and he gets to the loot house first. If you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He actually took note of what she told him, and the second time he goes there, he stops and he throws dirt all over his own clothing before he starts trying to talk to people, and the people are actually willing to talk to him.
Oh. Yeah.
Like it's like stuff that makes him character builds him a lot more. It gets his character off a lot more. When I read the light novel, I actually didn't realize how resourceful he could be at times, and
Yeah.
his it felt like in the anime his resourcefulness was built upon from his failures. But then you realize he's actually naturally sharp too, so it makes his character be seen in a whole new light.
Yeah, because definitely in the anime he doesn't come off, at least to me, he doesn't come off as smart or intelligent at all. Like he might have like he doesn't have common sense, but it's kind of like where he has sort of like street smarts, if you would say, but like he definitely they definitely emphasize in the anime him having to repeat and fail over and over and over again before he succeeds and before he finally realizes some like just very trivial shit,
Hmm.
and then he finally succeeds and does whatever he needs to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually,
But
it's kind of surprising that you say he's so smart because I'm with Grits in this. He doesn't seem like somebody who's naturally sharp in the anime. He kind of
Hmm.
just
no, even
looks like
for
your average Joe.
yeah, even for like regular dumb MCs, he's kind of like on the bottom of
Yeah,
intelligence, and like he's.
that's why I say, when you get the chance, you guys, for anyone who, wants to understand the series, like on the level that I do, and I'm honestly going to go out and say it's probably my favorite series, like in general right now. And, as far as light novels go, it's in my big three,
Uh,
But, like, it definitely made me come to appreciate him a lot more when you get to see a lot of that very precious, and I'll go ahead and point out, that this is really important, inner monologuing. Like I'm sure a lot of you can say that, there's those times where you get to see a lot of the character thoughts and it expresses a lot more, and then you see like anime adaptations, and it doesn't feel like it quite comes off as heavy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
definitely, definitely.
That's that's a big deal about like what kind of helps people understand people a lot more. Like there's a lot of times where criticism comes off about like half-baked MCs, and people just don't get it because they don't get to see a lot of what runs through their heads, and it's not touched upon.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what makes it so hard, like developing, especially these long running manga or light novels, whatever. When they're developed into an anime, it's hard to be able to pack all that character dev into, a 12 episode season or, whatever, because they have to cut so much content that you can't properly show all the ins and outs of a certain character, and then it gets kind of misconstrued where people are like, you always hear people say read the manga, but it gets kind of to the point where people can't people don't see like how good a character actually is until they read the other mediums that flesh out the characters and develop them a lot, a lot more, or a lot better.
And
At
I'm gonna
least.
go
Oh
off on
yeah.
a tangent a little bit here, but that's how I am with the Rising of the Shield Hero. Now, I read
Mhm.
the manga before it started airing. Sean actually
Hmm.
introduced it to me, and
Hmm.
to me, the monologuing in that series makes it. And
Oh
we're
yeah.
probably gonna go talk about this later on. Maybe
No,
we'll
yeah, definitely.
maybe we'll talk about all the shows this season, but it's 100% the monologuing that makes it so good to me. And obviously, it's good to everybody else because it's number one for most people this season,
Yeah.
at least from what I'm seeing online. But to me,
Oh
it
yeah.
just doesn't feel like it should have been better,
Mhm.
and I got my hopes up too high. I'm not saying it isn't good.
Yeah, it's
It's
definitely
some
done pretty well. It's just like I was saying, with developing something, you know, switching it over from mediums from manga, light novel, whatever, to anime, it's a lot harder to get an anime character done right because there's so little time to develop in comparison to, anything else.
and that's what makes it so special when an anime can get these details in it.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Like
Okay,
one big thing.
oh,
Mhm.
go ahead. No, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. One big thing I was seeing a lot of for Shield Hero in particular was a lot of people just randomly saying like they're like I don't get why Nafumi, main character, talks about like I don't get why he goes from being a nice guy, to like back to being an insufferable asshole. And it's not my personal opinion on it, but um they don't cover the fact that he's like constantly seething, like literally every little thing. So like so much as someone calling his name, and it's like not someone that's like, you know, it's not Raphtalia or Philo,
Below, yeah,
which
yeah,
are the only two people that he cares about. So much someone calling his name, and there's literally like he honestly gives off reactions in the manga all the time, like what now, or wow, I'm not in the mood, or like he'll observe things around him and literally just toss insults at things for no reason. Like he's 100% always seething. Like he's legitimately always pissed off.
yeah,
It just doesn't show because they
yeah,
don't get that monologuing in.
Yeah, and it also doesn't. It explains why he hates this kingdom so much, but it just does a way better job in the manga.
mm,
Like
Hmm.
you can't even put it to words how much better it is.
yeah. Well, we can definitely, you know, do an episode at the end of this series. So next week, or not at the end of the series, but at the end of the season. And we can definitely go more in depth on the Shield Hero, Promise
Oh,
Neverland,
of course.
all those different shows, and kind of give them our ratings and what we think of them. But to wrap everything up, I have one little fast thing that we can do. Um, we're gonna do a quick quote game. So basically, the whole premise of this game is I'm gonna give y'all a quote or a quote from a certain character, and they'll vary in difficulty. And basically, you just guess and tell me what character it is.
Okay.
So simple enough. So for the first one, I'm a go ahead and give y'all a pretty easy one.
I wonder if I know
People die when they are killed.
God.
No, I don't know who that is. I know it's from Fate. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much.
I honestly, it's been said so many times in the series that I can't even tell you like which one he's talking about anymore. But we both know it's from Fate, and I feel like that's the important part.
People die when they are killed.
Yeah, it's just been.
When people die,
Was it
they are
Lancelot?
killed. No. It was Emiya.
No.
It was,
Oh yeah, Shiro.
yeah, it was Shira.
Yeah. Yep.
It's literally one of my favorite quotes ever from any anime, from anything ever. I'll probably recite that shit at my wedding. Just people die when they are killed.
Look,
so
if I'm
happy.
gonna recite anything at my wedding, it's gonna be, what is it? It's that one scene from Death Note. All
I'll take a
according to
potato chip
Keikaku.
and I'll eat it.
Editor's
Oh
note.
my God.
Keikaku means plan. I like that one. Like, why did they have to put editor's note in it? Why didn't this just go all according to plan?
All right, so the next one. If I get reincarnated, I want to become a clam.
A what?
A clam.
A clam?
Yeah. If I get reincarnated, I want to become a clam. Zach, I thought you would know this one. I thought that this one would be up your alley.
I know I've heard this, or I've seen it.
What are you sawing in half right now?
Oh, you could hear that? That was me like drawing. My fault. I was sitting here just like doodling on my notebook. Yeah, that's from Luffy. From
Great.
One Piece.
Great. Do you know how many things this man has said?
Oh, I know he said a bunch. I just had to throw you for a loop on that one.
I feel like you have a statue of him in your room, Zach, and you worship it every day, though.
No, but I thought about getting the $100 version of Gem Force just to get that special Luffy.
Damn, that's commitment right there. Every day I wake up in my Luffy pajamas, drink a little bit of Luffy juice. Wait, that sounds like semen. Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and
this
make
one,
the terrible joke though. People call him a used condom all the time.
Luffy? Oh yeah, because the rubber. Okay. Okay, this one's a little more difficult. But from one of my favorite anime and one of the saddest in my opinion too, but having happy and beautiful memories will always bring you salvation. The more beautiful a memory is, the more painful it can become.
Let's use deductive reasoning. So sad.
Okay.
What do we got for sad? We got Anohana, plastic memories. Non. That's what Grits.
I'll have to
says.
I'll have to give y'all more context clues next time we do this. I'll try to make it a little easier because this one is a little difficult.
The first thing that jumped into my head when I heard it was plastic memories, honestly. But I'm probably wrong on that.
Do you want to name a character, Sean?
Is it Isla?
You are correct, big dog.
Ooh.
Yeah. I got
you
a
guys
little
can't tell, but
right
I'm standing out on the porch holding my hands out like when and I'm gonna have to explain this now.
Are you not entertained?
Roommate Anthony does his concerts,
Oh my gosh.
The guy living with me, he likes to step out on our back porch all the time and just sing to the empty crowd that's not there. He actually does all the motions with his hands and the dancing and the holding of the invisible microphone.
Like
but if he looked out the window, if he looked out the window, he would probably feel a little competition,
All right, but this ran over definitely longer than I anticipated, but it was really fun. We'll definitely
Oh yeah.
come back with this in the next episode with some good topics. If you have made it this far with us, thank you for listening, and we will be back with the next one. Take it easy, guys.
Love you
Like,
all.
comment, and subscribe. Haha, I hate my